In this video, we're going to be looking at how you would multiply decimals. It's something that catches a lot of people out, even though they understand the basic rules. We're going to start by looking at a pattern. We're going to use some slightly simpler numbers so we can see the pattern without worrying about the maths. So we're going to say 3 times 2 is 6. If I change that to 0.3 times 2, that would be 0.6. You have two lots of 0.3. Then we have 0.03 multiplied by 2, and that would give us 0.06. We could carry on this pattern, 0.003 times 2, and that would give me 0.006. What would happen if I turned the 2 into a decimal as well? Well, what happens with the pattern is we could have 0.003 multiplied by 0.2, and that would make it another decimal place smaller. Now there is a way of figuring this out without all that writing out of the pattern first. In this example, we have one number after the decimal point in the question, and in the answer there is one number after the decimal point. For this question we have 2 in the question and 2 in the answer coming after the decimal point. We have 3 here and 3 in the answer, and for the last example we have 3 plus 1, which gives us 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is always a good way to check that you've got your answer right. So how can this help us straight off? So here are 3 basic examples that we can look at. We'll start by doing 4 times 3, which we know is 12. And then we're going to use our trick to go back and count how many numbers go after the decimal point. So we have a 4, there's one there, and we have the 3. So 2 numbers after the decimal point. Starting from the right-hand side of this number, I'm going to count back 2. 1, 2. So that means all of the 1 and the 2 are behind the decimal point. There is my decimal, and there is my 0, 0.12. Let's try the same down here. 6 times 8 is 48. Now in my question, I have 1, 2, 3 numbers after the decimal point. Starting from the right-hand side, 1, 2, 3. And then my decimal point will appear. So I have a gap. I can put into that gap a 0 to hold the place. So my answer would be 0.048. The last example I've got, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which means we would need 5 after our decimal point in the answer. Now I know my answer is 108. I write my 108 and count back 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, decimal point, 0, and I need to fill in this space with 2 zeros. As you can see from this, when you multiply by a decimal, your answer gets smaller. In normal multiplication, when you multiply whole numbers together, your answer, or numbers greater than 1, your answer will get bigger. But when you multiply by a number smaller than 1, it gets smaller than either of the numbers in the question. Let's try some yourself. Pause the video, copy these into your book and have a go. Come back to check your answers. Okay, so number 1, we would have 0.08. Number 2, my answer is going to be 77, so it would be 0.077, 3 numbers after the decimal point. The third one, 3 fours are 12, so it would be 0.012. This one looks a little different, so I wonder if you could figure it out. 12 threes are 36. I have 2 numbers after my decimal point, so I keep those 2, and it would just be 0.36. 41 times 2 is 82, so I would have 0.008 2 to make sure I have 4 numbers after my decimal point. 23 times 3 would be 69, so I will have 5 numbers after my decimal point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 3 zeros. And then this last one. Now I don't know what 145 times 5 is off the top of my head. So we're going to ignore all the decimals and we're just going to work that out. 145 times 5. So 5 5s are 25. 4 5s are 20, plus that 2, so that gives me 22. And 1 5 is 5, plus these 2, which gives me 7. So to go back to my answer, I have a 7, a 2 and a 5, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers after the decimal point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.0. Let me know how you did and make up some questions of your own.